Hello, and welcome back to Punctual Politics. I'm your Senior Opinion Editor, Dawson Iasillo.
Oh, I'm Jackson Hatcher. I'm an opinion reporter.
And I'm Senior News Editor Natalie Hill. Getting right into this topic, earlier this month, Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen announced a plan to partner with Turning Point USA with the hopes to establish a chapter in every Nebraska high school. He didn't really take any questions or provide details about the specifics of this plan, leaving a lot of people confused about what the logistics of it would actually look like. Turning Point USA is, of course, a nonprofit founded by Charlie Kirk. It advocates for conservative politics. And according to Turning Point's website, they really want to help students identify and be educated about, having political discourses on the conservative side of things. Having Pillen then push to endorse this organization that aligns itself so clearly with conservative values has been a bit of a controversial move. What do you think that says to Nebraskans?
I think it's saying that we want an explicitly conservative environment for students to grow up in, and Pillen and Turning Point and Club America, which is the high school chapter system, they say all these things about how, this is about, facilitating political discussion or debate, or civic engagement is the one they, really try to hammer home. And I just think that's, it's just a mask to hide the fact that this is an explicitly right-wing organization that advocates for conservative ideology. It's, and by saying, we want to establish this in every high school. Well, you're not saying, we want every high schooler to be civically engaged or to be politically active or to have political discussions. You're saying, we want every high schooler to be conservative. We want every high school to engage in civic, in their civic duties in a conservative way. We want them to debate from a conservative side. And, having that be endorsed by the governor, it's ironic. Conservatives for years have rallied against what they call liberal indoctrination in public schools, but this is, I think, pretty patently conservative indoctrination.
I was just going to say, I think this just shows Nebraskans that our governor is inviting in indoctrination to all of our schools. And again, it's not about being civically engaged. I mean, these people these school-age kids can't even vote, most of them. I think, I hate to say it, but I think this is arguably one of Jim Pillen's smarter moves, because he's been able to get away with quite a lot, especially with the current Trump administration, with Trump kind of being one of his good buddies and good pals. It's smart to bring conservative values when you want to win re-elections and continue for Republican values to dominate. But I think it's going to backfire on him quickly also.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. The partnership, it's like, we have a goal to establish a chapter in every high school.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, there was nothing stopping any high school group of high school kids from starting their own chapter.
Right, sure.
I'm writing an article about this, so I was on their website, and it's really as easy as going to the start a chapter link on their website and filling out the form.
Yeah.
You need enough interest to fill out the three exec positions, one person to be president, vice president, and treasurer, and a faculty advisor. If you can get all that, you could establish a chapter. But having it come top down, prescribed by the governor, is ridiculous.
I mean, I was with you for part of the time when you were looking through that website, and it was very accessible. They have all the PowerPoints set out to show your chapter, so you don't even have to do any work. They make it super easy and accessible.
Yeah, they have prescribed PowerPoints, games, activity sheets, Kahoots. We played it. It wasn't great. Sorry. They have recommended reading lists.
Yeah.
They have recommended podcasts, which I think all reveal very obvious political bias.
Yeah.
So some of the reading the reading list
Uh-huh.
includes like I forget the exact title, but it's like The Case Against Socialism, Ben Shapiro, or The College Scam by Charlie Kirk. I'm like, they're very clearly, from a conservative point of view, or
Right.
like the publications. They have a bunch of links to podcasts. One of them that I saw was was one called, I forget the name of the title of the podcast, but it's Tim Pool's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, doesn't have any qualms about, being outwardly, conservative. And I'm
Right.
like, you are saying as the governor, we want a chapter, we want this club in every high school that
Right.
is prescribing, that's literally giving ample resources,
Yeah.
prescribing specific ideologies.
Right.
And I don't know if we'll touch on this later, so I'm going to touch on it now. They also have this thing called Patriot Rewards.
Yes.
Which is like if you do things for your chapter, Turning Point might send you, rewards. So these include things like, merchandise, but also like activity vouchers.
Yeah. I mean, this
or gift
system has
cards.
set out even incentives to continue it.
Yeah, and like they say, some of the things that you could do to get a reward are like pretty normal. Like, if you meet weekly.
It turns politics into this sort of sick game.
Yeah, it's very gamey. So like they're incentivized. One of the incentives, or one of the things that you can do to get rewards is go to their like activity themes, is what they call them. And, do an activity that's like that they're setting out there. So like,
right.
And these themes are not like, is big government or small government good? Here's how to facilitate a debate about it. It's big government is bad. Here's
Right.
why.
Right.
Talk about why.
Yeah.
And that's not politically neutral.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Dawson, you briefly mentioned re-election. Do you think that Pillen could be using this move as he thinks about re-election as a way to appeal to that conservative voter base?
Absolutely. I think not only does this clearly highly appeal to the conservative base, but also it's another statistic, right? It's another thing to add under his belt that he was able to accomplish, instilling a new conservative chapter in all high schools across Nebraska. I mean, that's if he can accomplish that, that would be a huge thing for his resume.
I actually disagree. I don't think it's about politics for him. I don't think it's about re-election. I think there could be like a 10-point swing to the Democrats across the board in the entire country, and Pillen would still win pretty handily. I think it's not a political move by him. It's an ideological move. It's
I can agree with that.
It's a goal to advance his ideology nationally, and it's why other governors have come up with similar plans. They have it in a similar thing in Texas and Oklahoma. It's not to be like, conservatives are going to do so much better in our elections in Oklahoma or Nebraska, right? It's about saying, our young people are going to be more conservative, and it's an ideological goal, I think.
I would push back a little bit, just in the sense that I think Pillen cares about politics, but not for the political reason, but more for the power and the title of it all.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
But do you think this move is like?
I think this is a power move.
Power? Really?
I think I don't know if it will actually work. I don't know if it'll actually play out when voters hit the booth, but I think in his mind, this will be a talking point for him.
I guess. I guess my argument is I don't really think he needs many talking points.
I would agree with that for sure. I think he has the re-election in the bag. I mean, he's very popular amongst Nebraskans, so I don't think it should be an issue for him. But yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. Jackson, you had kind of talked about, how this is different because it comes from the top down. What do you think, is the difference between, a high school student going out of their own volition and saying, I'm going to start a chapter of be it Turning Point, be it Young Republicans, Young Democrats, versus this high school is going to have this chapter?
Well, I think it's interest. Like, for one, if there was an actual interest in every high school in Nebraska to have a Club America chapter, then it would be so, right? Then that would be the case, because, again, it is not hard to start a chapter. You go to the website, you fill out the form, you need literally 3 students who are interested, and then you're good, and a faculty advisor. And like, look, if there were genuine like barriers to students starting their own chapter, then yeah, I would be for like eliminating those. But there just aren't any, right? The one barrier to starting your own chapter in these schools is having 2 like-minded friends and a one faculty member who is like, sure, I'll sign that.
Which seems to be like valid requirements.
Yeah.
Like very attainable requirements.
And you know, I think it's different, especially than like, you know, a lot of schools have like a young Democrats or young Republicans. And like, I think it's different even in the sense like, even if there was like a push from like the Republican Party themselves to say, oh, we need a young Republicans chapter in every high school, I think I would be more for that because there's a separation there. When it's the party doing it, look, I can say, well, I don't think they should be doing that. But I think it's very different when it's our government doing that, right?
Yeah. It's my issue is not with the conservative group wanting to be more prominent in high schools. That's not the issue that I have with this. The issue is that Republicans have always wanted limited, hands-off government, and what Jim Pillen is doing right now by forcing schools to have this chapter is an absolutely hands-on, autocratic way of doing it.
Right. And yeah, it's when the government is doing something, it's like an implicit endorsement. And like, you know, there's nothing about party or ideology in the Constitution or, you know, in how our government is structured, especially here in Nebraska. You know, we
Right.
have like officially nonpartisan,
Yeah.
you know, government. And you're saying, actually, no, I think we should be a partisan government. I think partisanship and ideology should be part of our public institutions, and I think that those public institutions should be right-leaning.
I just believe that one party on one side of the aisle or the other, if one party controlled every branch of government and every seat in every branch of government, we would crumble. And I think that's almost Jim Pillen's goal, which is why earlier I said I think it's going to backfire on him because we need both sides of the aisle, especially in such an agricultural heavy state. We need both sides of the aisle to be putting in their input and perspective so we can be as successful as possible.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. Like, again, I am all for like a public school initiative to get students more civically engaged or more interested in discussing politics, but this isn't that. I mean, looking through like all of the they call them activity themes.
Yeah,
they are so not welcoming of any
Absolutely.
like any left-wing thing. Like the example I used in my article was like they have this theme about big government and you know the way they frame it, like they have these prescribed like PowerPoints and presentations that you're supposed to do at meetings, and the way they frame it is that like the right-wing position makes sense and the left-wing position is crazy, right? So like it's in like even in the questions they'll use it and say like, oh, we're facilitating debate, and because they're posing questions, but the questions are like, why do so many people okay, the left wing like position question would be like, why do so many people want big government when people don't trust the government?
There's different ways to go about it, for sure.
And then the right wing question would be like, why is too much government bad?
Yeah.
Right? And that's not a neutral way to present an argument. If Pillen came out with an initiative to be like, oh, I want to put a debate club in every high school, I want to put a civic engagement club or a political discussion club or something like that, I'd be like, that's actually a great idea.
Yeah, for sure.
This isn't that. It's an echo chamber.
It's an indoctrination.
Yeah, left-wing people, liberal students, wholly not welcome in a chapter like this.
Yeah.
Except for like to be objects of derision, right?
It ultimately, back to your first question, Natalie, it ultimately shows Nebraskans that Jim Pillen only cares about you if you're going to be a right-wing conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only going to provide an opportunity for you if you're going to be a right-wing conservative.
Mm-hmm.
So last question for you guys today. Tim Royers is the president of the Nebraska State Education Association, and he's kind of pushed back against Pillen a little bit on this move, saying that public high schools at least need to remain politically neutral environments. What do you think is that difference there between encouraging high schoolers to be engaged and, making sure that high schools are still neutral spaces where members of both parties, people with different political leanings, can still feel welcomed and safe?
Well, I keep going back to the materials that, Club America puts out there. I mean, I think if you were to, you could very easily construct a club that's like, okay, every week we're gonna come up with a topic. We're gonna this week we're gonna talk about gun control, and then you have, I guess I don't know who would be in charge of this, because no matter who's in charge, I'd be like, oh well, this person's biased in the way that they're presenting the argument, but trying to present the argument in a neutral way. And encouraging students to be like, well, what do you think? Do you think gun control is too much? Do you think, some gun control is, a good idea? And having them just discuss it. But when it's like, oh, here's the right-wing position on it, that's not going to facilitate debate. That's going to prime you to debate other people, right? And I think there is a way to construct an initiative to facilitate a place where everyone can feel welcome and present their own viewpoints. But I don't think Turning Point is that. I don't, as much as they might try to claim, oh well, we're just here to ask questions and debate people. They're very clearly not. They're there to push for a right-wing ideology. And they are not going to be arguing in good faith from that way, right?
I think I'd almost even disagree with Tim Royers because I don't think high schools should be a place of neutrality. I think high schools should be a place of inclusiveness, and I think there's a difference in that. And I think high schools across Nebraska and across the country should really emphasize inclusiveness of all students and not neutrality. Mm-hmm. They should highlight the point of inclusiveness and not staying neutral. And clearly this chapter and this program that Jim Pillen is trying to instill in high schools across Nebraska is not inclusive to left-wing students. It is not inclusive to minorities. It is not inclusive to XYZ. And so again, me and Jackson have both said, if this was an organization of, political awareness and maybe even a current events or how to get registered to vote or the importance of voting, mm-hmm. or something that people across all different groups and communities of people can feel included. And I think Tim Royers needs to do a better job of highlighting inclusiveness rather than taking the political neutrality stance, because I think that's an easier option. But I think, again, we should not choose the easier option when we know it's not necessarily the right thing.
As always, thank you for tuning into Punctual Politics. The views expressed on this podcast do not represent the views of the Daily Nebraskan as a whole, but if you want to hear more of Jackson's thoughts on this topic specifically, make sure to check out his article on our website.
Make sure to follow us on our socials at The Daily Nebraskan, and be sure to keep up with our YouTube channel as we will be posting 3 episodes a week every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. We'll see you next time.